How's it going, everybody? This is Quincy. If you guys can hear my mic, please let me know. If you can hear clear, let me know. If you can hear me clear, let me know. If my mic is clear, let me know. It's been a minute. I know I supposed to did a follow-up to this. This is part 2 of discovering your identity. What does the Bible say about your zodiac? What does God say about zodiacs? This is about to get deep, y'all. But I want to know if you guys can hear me. If you can see me, let me know. I want to make sure that the audio is up to par. If you guys can hear me, let me know. Please share this video. Share this video with those you can. Make sure this is correct. How are you guys doing? Let me see. There we go. If my audio is clear, let me know. Anybody that's listening. And share this with whoever you can. We're talking about zodiacs. We're having a discussion about zodiacs. I want you guys to share this with those you can. Is it live? Hallelujah. Bless you, Lord. All right. I'm going to get started. All right, everybody. Again, this is part 2, the follow-up on discovering your identity. What does God say? What does the Bible say about zodiacs? Now, last time on part 1, as you look into the other video, me and a friend of mine, we were discussing the different variances. We went from talking about what is zodiac to why do people seek to know their zodiac. We talked about, do you really believe your identity is found in a zodiac? We started looking at the statistics of those who involve themselves with zodiac. Then we started talking about, where does it come from? What is the history? We talked about earlier history with the Babylonian kingdoms. In fact, let me make sure I play the slide. We talked about Egypt. We talked about every empire that ever existed throughout history have involved themselves with zodiacs. It might have been called something different, but nevertheless, they would look to the universe for answers. And I want to break down to you the history, how deep this history go. Because some would say it goes back to Babylon. There are others who would say it goes back to Egypt, but it actually goes further than that. So I want to talk to you guys about the history of zodiacs and how important it is to know the truth. Okay. Now I'm going to make a case here, beginning with Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6. Let me get my comments right. One thing's for sure, every person on this planet wants to know who they are. I want to find something real quick. The journey of every human being is to discover their history. Every journey of the human being is trying to discover who they are, their identity. I'm gonna refer to this passage real quick that Paul gave in Acts chapter 17. Hopefully you guys can hear me clear. Like I said, I hope my mic is clear enough. Let me make sure it's not echoing. One moment. Mic check. One moment. This is the best way I can do it. Okay. I believe the volume is off. Okay. Let me see if I could share this with you. All right. Bear with me here. I want to read to you from Acts chapter 17 when Paul was going to Athens. In verse 22, Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship," let me move this up. "I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I am going to proclaim to you. You see here people searching and discussing, having philosophical discussions about different gods and different philosophies and trying to understand life and trying to understand the universe. And he's saying that, so you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is the purpose of me doing this today. I wanted to do this to try to get many of you to see and to understand, what is it that you're searching for? What is it that you're searching for? You're searching for your identity in Zodiac. You're searching for your identity when you call on the universe. You're trying to get answers. So here in verse 24, this is what he says. "The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands. And he is not served by human hands as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man he made all the nations that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being." He is not far from either one of us. God is not in the highest heavens. He's not in the depthness of the sea. He is closer than what you will allow him to be. So there are those of you, you're seeking the universe, you're looking to the stars, you're trying to find, and you're asking for these answers. But do you know what you're really doing? Do you understand the history of what it is you're doing? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about. Discovering your identity. Discovering your identity. We're going to talk about some ancient history now. Like I said in the other video, we did a little ran through with that. Now we're talking about the origin, the original purpose of Zodiac. We're talking about the ancient history. And I want to read from this. I want to read from this article I found on, this is an excerpt on factanddetails.com. In ancient times, astrology and astronomy. In ancient times, astrology and astronomy were the same thing. Let me share this with you guys. One moment. Let me share this on the screen. Okay. In ancient times, astrology and astronomy were the same thing. Astrology, as we know it, originated in Babylon. So they think. That's my commentary. So they think. It developed out of the belief that since the gods in the heavens ruled man's fate, the stars could reveal fortunes, and the notion that The motions of the stars and planets control the fate of people on earth. Take note of this, y'all. Astrology, as they think to have originated in Babylon, it says here, it developed out of the belief that since the gods in the heavens ruled man's fate, the stars could reveal fortunes, and the notion that the motions of the stars and planets control the fate of people on earth. I am going to talk to you about these quote unquote gods and these quote unquote stars that they believed could reveal fortunes, and the notion that the motions of the stars and planets control the fate of people on earth. Furthermore, the motions of the stars and planets are mainly the result of the earth's movement around the sun, which causes, number one, the sun to move eastward against the background of the constellations. Number two, the planets and moon to shift around the sky. Number three, cause different constellations to rise from the horizon at sunset different times of the year. Again, that's factanddetails.com. Morris Jastrow, let me see. Morris Jastrow, an Orientalist and librarian associated with the University of Pennsylvania, said this, quote unquote, the biblical expression, quote unquote, host of heaven. Take note of that, host of heaven, for the starry universe admirably reflects the conception held by the Babylonian astrologers. Moon, planets, and stars constituting an army in constant activity, executing military maneuvers, which were the result of deliberation and which had in view a fixed purpose. Executing military maneuvers. Who are these stars? What are these stars and these so-called gods that constitute an army in constant activity? Who are they? What are they? The following sentence. It was the function of the priest. These particular names here, I'm not going to pronounce it because I might jack it up, except for inspector, as the astrologer, as well as the inspector of the liver was called to discover this purpose. So there was always these priests, there was always these inspectors in ancient history, studying these stars, understanding their constant activity that execute military maneuvers. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. So there are those who don't realize the powers behind, the activities behind these stars or the universe. You know, the scriptures talks about rulers, principalities, and powers. We're going to get to that. But we're going to talk about the ancient history of how this knowledge was revealed to mankind. So let me share the screen again. How was this knowledge revealed? It begins in Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 through 7, with the quote unquote sons of God trespassing into our world and having relations with many women. We're going to talk about what this many women is. But I want to make a case. Let me see. I'm going to make the case later. One moment. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 through 7. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair and beautiful, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, verse 3, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Now, this was the judgment he pronounced before Enoch. I'm gonna get to this Enoch figure, but this was the judgment he pronounced, and then he revealed to Noah to prepare an ark, because things have gotten so corrupted, because these quote unquote sons of God came down and began to reveal things to mankind that they ought not to have. These stars, these hosts, these what we're going to read, watchers, came down and revealed forbidden knowledge through the women, to the women. Then throughout, it spread like rapid fire. It just spread out, this forbidden knowledge that caused man to sin, and things became very wicked. And I'm going to show you how this all ties to the subject of today regarding zodiacs, just one of the subjects. Now, in Daniel, you're reading the books of Daniel, you will hear terms like watchers. Who were the watchers? What did they watch over? I'm going to begin to break this down, okay? Let's go to scripture. First, let me make a case for the book that I am going to refer to. Let's see. Now, I'm making a case about this figure that we hear about in scripture. There was a forefather in the Bible named Enoch who had a very close relationship with God. The text of the book of Genesis says Enoch lived 365 years before he was taken by God. So he had a very long relationship with God the Father, the Most High. The text reads that Enoch walked with God and he was no more, for God took him. You find that in Genesis chapter 5, verse 21 through 24, which is interpreted as Enoch's entering heaven. This is what you find. Starting with verse 21, when Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, then he was no more because God took him away. God revealed to Enoch astounding things, including how fallen angels taught mankind forbidden knowledge. We're going to talk about this forbidden knowledge. We're going to talk about how this forbidden knowledge has so many different ties that leads to cultic beliefs that you hear of today. One moment. This information is about to get deep. We're in a time now where we're close to the return of Christ. You could see the signs, you could feel it. This is why I want you guys to know what I'm about to share with you. I had to wait for timing to be able to share this information with you. Everything is about timing, because if you notice, if you know anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls, it seems as we get closer and closer to the culmination of everything that is happening in our time. We could feel and sense things are not right. We have what they call global warming going on. We see a lot of the frustration, anger of people, a lot of the transitioning of things happening and the switching of things happening. Read between the lines. And we see and we're experiencing something that's making people very uncomfortable, but they don't know how to address the issues. They don't know how to find their way. They don't even really know what the truth is. Everybody's just kind of going along with what they feel. So when I'm about to explain to you, I'm about to refer to the Book of Enoch that the first century church was familiar with. This Dead Sea Scroll or set of scrolls that the Ethiopian church has canonized with their Bible, has very important insight regarding Genesis chapter 6 that it doesn't explain. We hear about Lucifer and a third of the angels, those stars, those hosts, those myriad of angels that came down, you know, when they deceived Eve and Adam, and through that fall, we inherited sin. We hear about that. We hear about principalities and powers in high places. We hear about devils and demons, but don't always know exactly how or why they are the way they are. So I'm about to read to you something that I've studied since 2002. But it was a matter of timing because we're in a prophetic timetable right now. Right now, we're going to begin to hear and see things that are strange to the beholder who don't really know God, but things that Christ said we would see, signs in the heavens before his return and on earth before his return. But what is causing these things to take place? Why are people calling out to the universe? Those who don't really know better. I'm about to explain to you why. But let me make a case for the Book of Enoch real quick. You go to Wikipedia, because some deep religious people out there have a way of criticizing individuals when they quoting from books and things like that. But it's amazing to me how you will read a book about a particular author who has claims about their heavenly encounters, and we'll buy their book. But when we're talking about an ancient preserved book, a well-preserved book, then it seems like it's just something outside of your comfort zone. But this is important. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Hebrew apocalyptic religious text ascribed by tradition. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. One moment. Let me get to it. Okay, there we go. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Hebrew apocalyptic religious text ascribed by tradition to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. This is his great-grandfather. Enoch contains unique material on the origins of demons and Nephilim. We hear about Nephilim in scripture. Why some angels fell from heaven, an explanation of why the Genesis flood was morally necessary, and prophetic exposition of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah that we are close to. The older sections, mainly in the book of the Watchers of the text, remember I spoke about Watchers earlier. The older sections, mainly in the book of the Watchers of the text, are estimated to date from about 300 to 200 BC, and the latest part, Book of Parables, probably to 100 BC. Various Aramaic fragments found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as Koine Greek and Latin fragments, are proof that the Book of Enoch was known by Jews and early Near Eastern Christians. This book was also quoted by some 1st and 2nd century authors, as in the testaments of the 12 patriarchs. Authors of the New Testament were also familiar with some content of the story. A short section of 1st Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9, is cited in the New Testament epistle of Jude. Over in Jude chapter 1, verse 14 through 15, he quotes from it and is attributed there to Enoch, the 7th from Adam. Although this section of 1st Enoch is a midrash of Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 2. Several copies of the earlier sections of 1st Enoch were preserved among the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then it goes to talk about the canon process. Like, it is not part of the biblical canon by Jews apart from Beta Israel, Ethiopian Jews, because the Ethiopians have it canonized with their Bible. So you could do your research on it and things like that. Okay. But now I want to share with you some passages from the book of Enoch. Let me get to it. All right. So in 1st Enoch chapter 6 through 9, okay? And it came to pass when the children of men, this is literally simultaneously explaining Genesis chapter 6, okay? And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. This is the human race. So these beautiful and comely daughters, okay? And the angels, the children of the heaven, quote unquote, or sons of God, emphasis added, saw and lusted after them and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men and beget us children. And Samyaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not for indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And so they all answered this, all the other angels answered him and said, let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. You kind of look at it like gang members gathered together, like, okay, y'all, we know we about to commit a sin by stepping outside of our calling, stepping outside of our purpose, and we're going to trespass into the human race realm, into their earthly realm. And we're going to commit this sin that we know is a sin. We know it has penalty, but let's do this thing together. We know, down for one, one for all. This is how they talking. Okay. So it says in verse 5, they didn't abandon this plan, but let's do this thing. Then they all swore together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200, which also in second Enoch, it speaks about 200 myriads of angels. So these could be millions upon millions of angels, though it gives the number 200. So it says, and they were all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. And I'm not going to pronounce all of them, but it speaks about all of the different names of the leaders. It says these are their chiefs of tens. Okay, so out of this group of angels. Now, so this is not the same set of Lucifer and the third of the angels that fell with him. This is a whole other grouping of angels that came down in Genesis chapter 6. And we know this. We're familiar with this passage. We know by this time, those who study the word, that Lucifer and the fallen angels, they still doing what they do. They run in different territories and calling shots. These angels decided to do what they did too. Is dumb. It's like, I don't understand why they would want to do, knowing that the penalty of, I guess they figure since Lucifer and the others are alive and roaming earth, that they can get away with it. You know, it's kind of like when God, you know how like when you discipline your children, you have that one who knows better, the one who seems to catch the brunt of the punishment when they disregard your command or your instructions to them. So all the other children get in trouble, right? But then you get in trouble, but you suffer the penalty the hardest. You know, you suffer the penalty the hardest because you know better. You're more aware. You've seen the pros and cons before. So it is with these fallen ones. These group of angels saw the consequences. They seen the consequences of Lucifer and these other angels. And here they are making a pact to come down because of their lust for these women, these beautiful women that were birthed through mankind. All right, here we go. So in chapter 7 of first Enoch, and all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms. So this is the beginning of witchcraft, you guys. Y'all want to know the history of witchcraft? They taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. This is the forbidden knowledge. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 300,000 or 3,000 ells. You can look up how tall that is. I'll talk about that on another subject. These giants consumed all the acquisitions of men. These giants grew so big, y'all, they had an appetite. They were ferocious. And men couldn't even produce enough food to feed everybody. And they was ferocious. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. You could say like cannibalism, but remember, these giants are hybrid beings because these sons of God, these fallen angels that slept with the women, impregnated them with their seed. and with spirits. That would be another subject. And because of this, these babies that grew into giants became ferocious, bent on evil and greed and power and control. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. This is how sin began to really pervade itself. I have a subject that I'm going to do eventually on the origins of demons. That's just going to really give y'all some insight. But these giants were ferocious, but their fathers, the fallen angels, chapter 8, it says here, and Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all color and tinctures. These were forbidding knowledge and things that they were teaching mankind. So this is the beginning of such sin exponentially from the time of Lucifer. They taught men. See, we wasn't created to go to war. And then we all know that consciously. We all know that it'd be great if we all had peace. So the wars that mankind are fighting are influenced by these fallen ones. But this is not where it starts. We're talking about Zodiac, and I'm about to show you how the studying of stars began. So verse 2, color and tinctures. And right here. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication. This is where things that are unnatural comes in. That's another subject. And they were led astray. Mankind were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Samyaza taught enchantments also, not just Azazel. Samyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Witchcraft, you guys. The next angel, Amorous, whatever, the resolving of enchantments. And Barakal taught astrology and the constellations. The next angel taught them about how they should read the constellations, how they should read the knowledge of the clouds. That was the next angel. And the next angel taught the signs of the earth. The other angel taught the signs of the sun. And the other one, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So we want to know why the flood eventually came through Noah. Chapter 9, this is why. I'm going to try to run through this. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said to one another, the earth made without inhabitant cries the voice of their crying up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. So mankind is praying, crying out to God. And the angels, as we also see in the book of Daniel, goes up and down with our prayers. So the archangels are hearing the prayers, and they taking it before the Most High. Because they said to the Lord of the following verse, the Lord of ages, Lord of lords, and God of gods, King of kings, and God of all ages, the throne of thy glory stands unto all the generations of the ages. Is what they saying. And thy name holy and glorious and blessed unto all the ages. Thou hast made all things, and power over all things. And all things are naked and open in thy sight. And thou see all things, and nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou see what this angel have done, Azazel. By the way, you'll find his name Azazel as a scapegoat in the scriptures on another time and another subject. Just to let you know, this is not an unfamiliar name. This angel, this fallen angel, was known. And when this angel was arrested, he was buried into the depths of the earth. That's why many tradition has believed that hell or Sheol, this place of burning and torment for the angel judgment day, is in the center of the earth. That's a different subject. So when God would pass the sins upon this goat, they would let it off. They would let it off into the wilderness. I'm gonna talk about Azazel another time. But this angel have done. They saying this angel, look at what he's taught. He taught mankind all unrighteousness on earth and revealed the eternal secrets forbidden, which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. As a result of this, men were striving to learn this forbidden knowledge. So you get these cultic beliefs that the fallen angels was leading mankind astray to learn. And it says the next angel, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates. They have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth. Oops. Let me make sure y'all follow me here. To whom thou hast given authority, they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now, behold, the souls of those who have died are crying and making their suit to the gates of heaven, and their lamentations have ascended, and cannot cease because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou know all things before they come to pass, and thou see these things, and thou dost suffer them, and thou dost not say to us what we are to do to them in regard to these. So this is all intercession right here. The archangels communicating with God, the cry of mankind coming up to his throne, and they're interceding. And God then gives the decree of judgment, which is a whole nother subject for a whole nother time. So that is the synopsis of how the fallen angels came down and taught, astrology, enchantments, charms, this knowledge that leads mankind astray. There's nothing wrong with seeing the stars and glorifying God and studying stars and things like that. And you know what I'm saying? Like astronauts, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a spiritual connection with these stars when mankind is seeking answers from them instead of the creator. Talking about the universe instead of God, the Most High. Follow along. So what does God tell us about seeking these signs? God has always desired to protect his children from deception. When you look at history of how God has always delivered our ancestors, he always gave them instructions and rules to protect them. Let's look at what he told them in the process of liberating them from Egypt. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 9 through 15. This is what God told them. As they were going from Egypt and God began to give the laws, he also gave them a heads up because he's a good God. He's a good father. He warned, saying, when you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifice their son or daughter in the fire. You may ask, why would they sacrifice their sons and daughter in the fire? Because the fallen angels taught them how. He also says, those who practice divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or cast spells. There are those of you who know people who cast spells. There was someone I knew got into spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. Verse 12, anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God would drive out those nations before you. You must be blameless before the Lord your God. So he says in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 26, do not eat any meat with blood still in it. Do not practice divination or seek omens. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19, and beware lest you raise your eyes to heaven. And when you see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the host of heaven, you be drawn away and bow down to them and serve them. Things that the Lord your God has allotted to all the people under the whole heaven. Meaning that God didn't want us to see these things in heaven to worship, but it's okay to see these things and glorify him and understand them from his perspective. So these stars and host of heaven are the angelic beings that draws you away. Now you say, I don't bow to them to serve them, but something you have to understand about how they operate. They want to lead you astray first with forbidden knowledge. Look at Adam and Eve. When you read the story of Adam and Eve, God gave her specific instructions, and Adam specific instructions. You may eat from this tree of life. You may eat from this tree, but do not touch the one right there in the middle of the garden. The knowledge of good and evil. That was planted by what I believe, Satan. This was forbidden knowledge. He is sowing seeds into the minds of people and drawing them away along with the fallen angels. Why? Because he don't want you to glorify God. He wants you to call upon the universe. These are lower gods. These are Elohims, fallen angels that are leading you astray. We've all been ignorant, but this is why God reveals truth to us so that we don't get caught up in cultic beliefs. As you would see, ancient Babylonians, the Egyptians, they knew about astrology, but they also knew about these powers, these angelic beings. That's why when you look at some of these documentaries that believe aliens came down to mankind, yeah, I guess they were aliens if they were unfamiliar, like your humanity, like you being a human being and some other entity coming in. But these were fallen angels appearing to mankind as angels of light. That's why when you look at some of the hieroglyphs of Egypt and you see these giants sitting on their throne, some of them were giants. They were the ones who built the pyramids. No humans can push even no modern day crane can even lift one slab of the Sphinx. The way how metrically and diametrically, how mathematically those things are put together, and people trying to understand how is that possible. Like there was some technology of some sort. That's because they had knowledge that was revealed to them from the fallen angels, and the giants were strong enough to build them. But you have to seek God for that understanding. Mankind still scratching their head. How was that stuff built? How was those pyramids built? How was they so? I mean, how, like, you can't even get a sheet of paper to go in between it. What genius created them? What strength it took the people to push it? No amount of people can push it. No modern day crane can lift it, because only the giants that were hybrid beings from these fallen angels could do that. But the same fallen angels taught mankind forbidden knowledge. I hope you guys are following me along. Can you guys hear me? Is my mic clear? It'd be nice if I can get some feedback. So, this forbidden knowledge. Let's go further along. Let me make sure I got my page up. Let's go further along. Okay. All right. So who are behind? Let me make sure I'm following correctly. So we talked about how God warned his people not to lift their eyes to heaven and do those things. So who are behind the stars? The host of heaven that draws you away. I just explained that. The angels of Genesis chapter 6, along with Lucifer, and the angels that committed treason against God in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. Read it on your own time. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. Luke chapter 10, 18, where Christ, our Lord, spoke about how he saw Lucifer fall from heaven like lightning. Then in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, how the dragon grabbed a third of the stars with it, talking about Lucifer and the fallen angels. And what can we know about them before they rebelled against God? Now, this is the thing you have to understand. Before the fall, they were like how we are. They were children. They were sons of God. You know, if you have a rebellious child you're raising, At some point, you may kick them out the house. When they of age, you'll kick them out the house. There are certain rules you set in your home. And when you have a child that's really rebellious, you kick them out. You put them out. It's your way of letting them know, look, you don't want to obey orders, you got to go. The angels had a stricter law because they knew better. But before the fall, what were they like? What were they like? The scriptures tells us what they were like. They were created, number one, they were created by God. Psalm 33, verse 6. By the word of the Lord, the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth, all their host. By the word of the Lord, the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth, all their host. I hope y'all can see it. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 6. You alone are the Lord. You have made the heavens, the heaven of heavens, with all their host. See, you only thinking just what you see with your natural eye in the sky that's bright and shining is what it's talking about. But no, it's interchangeable with the angels who the Bible says are like flames of fire. The reason why the sun is as bright and glorious as it is, the reason why it lights up is because the angels that tend to it. The reason why the moon lights up, the reason why the stars are lighted up is because of the angels. They got jobs just like we do. The earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them, you give life to all of them. And the heavenly host bows down before you. They bow down before him, the Most High. So why are you seeking the heavens when the heavens itself, the universe, why are you seeking the universe when the universe itself bows before the Creator? Just like people, I want to go to heaven. You worship heaven more than you worship the Most High. Heaven don't even mean anything. It's nothing without the Creator. Number two, these angels, they sung together and worship God. You find that in Job chapter 38, verse 7. When the morning stars sung together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. You also have in Psalm 148, verse 3 through 6. Praise him, sun and moon. Praise him, all stars of light. Praise him, highest heavens, and the waters that are above the heavens. Let them praise the name of the Lord, for he commanded and they were created. So by this time, it should be obvious who we should turn our attention and devotion to. The Most High even spoke to Job about this. In Job chapter 9, verse 7 through 9, he says to Job, who commands the sun not to shine and sets a seal upon the stars? Who alone stretches out the heavens and tramples down the waves of the sea? Who makes the bear, the Orient, and the Pleiades? He's talking about constellations here. And the chambers of the south. Job chapter 38, verse 31 through 33. Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades or loose the cords of Orion? Can you lead forth a constellation in this season and guide the bear with their satellites? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens or fix their rule over the earth? See, this is God talking to Job during a time where he was going through trials and tribulations, and God wanted to reveal his glory to Job. God didn't say the angels did these things. He said, no, I'm the one who created these things. This is my glory. That's why we focus our attention on the Most High, not some zodiac trying to find our identity, not the universe aligning itself. And that's been over time, your mind has been getting deceived by this forbidden knowledge. Now you start to believe this sign associated to your birth makes up who you are. This is forbidden. It's forbidden, you guys. Stop associating yourself with an astrology, what the horoscopes are telling you. You say, yeah, but it seems like this is who I am, and this is how I am, and this is how they are. Over time of reading that stuff, you'll begin to believe it. People perish for lack of knowledge, but also people perish for forbidden knowledge. Not everything is good for you. You have to ask the Creator, the Most High, reveal the truth to me. Filter out all the lies. Don't allow me to be deceived. And if your heart is humble and your heart is true to God, you're honest, He would not allow you to be led astray. You could be aware of it. You could know about it. But if you're not careful, that knowledge will eventually lead you. The Bible prophesies in the book of Revelation that when the mark of the beast come and the Antichrist has revealed himself, and Lucifer has pretty much embodied this person, he will cause all to worship him, except for those who don't take the mark, those who don't allow the depths of Satan, according to Revelation. The book of Revelation talks about the depths of Satan. He spoke to one of the churches about the depths, meaning this knowledge, being so entrenched into the knowledge of Lucifer that you begin to eventually worship him because you're being made in his image by forbidden knowledge. You're growing in knowledge of these things and you're being led astray. And this is just a portion of it. There are secret societies. There are other cultic beliefs. Some of you believe you're from Egypt and you're associating yourself with the eye of Horus and Isis. And the false gods, the stars in the universe, they worship these angelic fallen angels that they worshiped. Why? Because the giants that used to sit on their throne, that's why you see those on the hieroglyphs. You see those tall, what you thought was human beings with goat-like, bird-like heads and stuff. Why do you think they was able to have those images? Because they saw creatures that were not of this world. And they used to get information from them because those particular hybrid Nephilim beings, fathers, were the watchers, the sons of God that fell and got fired because they trespassed and intertwined and intermingled themselves with mankind. So now we have this forbidden knowledge that people, now it's all over the earth and it's different sections and layers and depths of it, depths of Satan. Read the book of Revelation. Talks about the depths of Satan. And you have these individuals indulging themselves in it with no care, with no concern. How long have I been going? This is pretty. Okay, I still got time. I'm going to try to finish this off, you guys. Let's go further. What about the times that God used signs to help his people? Joshua commanded the sun and the moon. He wasn't looking to the sun and moon, but in Joshua chapter 10, verse 12, on the day the Lord gave the Amorites, who the Israelites was at war with, the day that he gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon. He was commanding things regarding the universe, not asking from it things. In fact, there are some passages. Let me share this. Let me share this, because when we talk about signs, it's nothing wrong with asking God for a sign. You know, that's different. Let me find this passage. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Let me see. You know, like we have, as you could read here in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 11, ask a sign for yourself from the Lord your God. Ask a sign from God, the Most High, not the universe. Make it deep as Sheol or high as heaven. So there's no wrong with asking God anything you need to know. That's Isaiah chapter 7, verse 11. Then you got verse 14. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. God gives you a sign. He gave the Magi a sign. I'm going to get to them in a minute. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 34. This will be the sign to you which will come concerning your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, on a day both of them will die. This is God speaking to the prophet Samuel. In 14, verse 10, he says, but if they say, come up to us, then we will go up. For the Lord has given them into our hands, and this shall be the sign to us. So God uses signs to reveal certain things to his people. There's nothing wrong with seeking a sign from the creator, not seeking the universe for the sign, not seeking zodiacs and horoscopes for the sign. Do you understand? Let me get my glasses. My eyes starting to get a little weird. Okay. What did Jesus Christ want us to know about seeking signs? Let's go into the New Testament, okay? Matthew chapter 16, 1-4. People are so enamored about wanting to see some sign. And here the Pharisees and the Sadducees came up and testing Jesus. They asked him to show them a sign from heaven. It's amazing. Mankind always on this tendency of wanting to seek the universe or seek something, seek some type of sign. And he replied to them, what it is, well, he says, when it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, there will be a storm today, for the sky is red and threatening. Do you know how to discern the appearance of the sky, but cannot discern the signs of the times? Read more. That's Matthew chapter 16, 1-4. That's amazing because he's saying, look, you know how to study these things and know when something is coming. You know when the rain is coming. You know when the storm is coming. But you can't identify the signs of the time. Right now, you guys, we are close to his return. We're not far. We see the signs. We see the world in fear. We see that in stress. As I said on the other video, psychologists talked about mankind. They always seek a sign when they're under stress and stuff like that, but they seeking a sign from the wrong thing. They're seeking signs from the universe, the stars, the host of heaven, but not the most high God, creator of heaven. My God. Mark 8, verse 11-12. The Pharisees came out and began to argue with Jesus, seeking from him a sign from heaven. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and said, why does this generation seek for a sign? Truly, I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation. And that's why you read in Matthew chapter 12, where it expounds on it in verse 38-39. Teacher, we want to see a sign. But he answered and said to them, an evil and adulterous generation craves for a sign, and yet no sign will be given to it but the sign of Jonah the prophet, who warned people. Jonah was sent to warn people. And he was, because of his ignoring and not wanting to do what God told him, he was swallowed and put in the belly of a beast. He's saying this is the type of sign you will get. He says an evil and adulterous generation craves for a sign. Are you craving for a zodiac sign? You got to read the horoscope, figure out what it's saying about your future or what it's saying about who you are, your identity. Like, do you really think your identity is linked up in 12 zodiac signs? Why not seek the creator instead of the creation? That's not logical. And then in Luke 11:29, again, I like the way it says it here. This generation is a wicked generation. It seeks for a sign. So therefore, be careful of the signs you seek outside of the Most High. You don't want to be led astray and deceived by fallen angels and demons. Allow God to reveal all truth to you. He gave us the solution. His son, Jesus Christ. The Lord says that he is the way, the truth, and the life. Now, if you're a person on a journey of trying to seek and understand life, God knows your heart. God knows. He knows what it is that you're seeking. If you really want the truth, he'll reveal the truth to you. He'll give you the key of knowledge, of true knowledge. When you humble yourself and you sincere when seeking God, when you humble yourself and truly seek God from a sincere heart, he will unveil the truth to you, and it will come in stages. But for those of you Christians, religious Christians, hear what I'm saying. How dare you negate the one who purchased your soul, and you starting to go astray into this forbidden knowledge? The Bible says that even the very elect, if it were possible, would be deceived. There are those of you that are being deceived to this day, not knowing that all those things are forbidden knowledge that's leading you astray. And you don't even know the history of why you even seeking it out. You're just doing it because it's trendy. Everybody talk about it. It's normal. And that's the sad thing. It's become normalized. And like I said, I've been ignorant at one point. That's why God sees your heart. He doesn't hold you accountable for your ignorance. He holds you accountable for ignoring him. Meaning he's dealing with you, but you're not trying to hear that. You're going to live your life, do it your way, become your own God and goddesses, and just go about your own business. Like Eve did. Lucifer tempted her with forbidden knowledge, and she became attracted to it. He told her that you will be like God. You will be independent. You will be able to stand next to him. And she looked and saw that it looked beautiful to the eyes. It looked like it would taste good. And there are those of you, you're going into these forbidden knowledge and cultic beliefs because it looked good from what you see other people doing. It sounds good, but it's forbidden. And God is saying, all you got to do is come to me, the Most High. I don't live in hands. I don't live in these items and temples. Remember when I read Acts, Paul told them, look, you got all these idols and gods and cultic beliefs, but the one who created the heavens and the earth, he's saying, look, call upon them. Call upon the God, the creator of it all. And he will lead you to life. He will lead you to the truth. And he will show you who you are. You will never know who you are until you're willing to follow Christ. You're willing to follow the way, the truth, and the life. He is the solution. But it's up to you to walk that path. I'm not here to force you to do anything. I'm here to enlighten you. I'm here to give you information, and I'm here to exhort you. All you gotta do is ask God. You don't have to know everything. Just ask God to reveal the truth to you. He gonna lead you to Christ. It'll come in time. However he does it, whatever time frame, I'm just here to sow a seed or water it. But I'm urging you in this day and time, don't hold back on finding the truth. Don't hold back. Don't ignore God's voice. So with that being said, guys, I love you. I just wanted to share that with you. And I hope that it's been a blessing to you. So God bless you. Understand your calling and follow the protocol. In Jesus' name, God bless.